let's talk about working with buyers versus working with sellers. You know, when you first get in the business, as I mentor agents, especially new agents, I let them know you should do buyers, you should do sellers, you should do everything that you can do to generate income, because unless if you're in some sort of a position where you don't immediately need income, which definitely wasn't the case for me coming into the business right after a failed work from home business, $65,000 in credit card debt, living with my then girlfriend, now wife at the time, I definitely wasn't in the position to where money was a luxury. I literally didn't have money to eat, literally. And so that's how far I rode the previous business in. That's how deep my commitment was. You know, people talk about, oh, burn the ships, which if you're not familiar with that, is basically whenever you go into an opportunity or even a relationship, it could be a marriage, you know, burn the ship. Otherwise, get rid of any opportunity for you to retreat out of the thing that you've now committed into. And that's what I did with my previous business. And that's what I did in real estate too. But so let's talk about it, working with buyers versus sellers. I mean, in the beginning, you work with everybody that you can, right? And hopefully you get to a point to where your business is streamlined and systemized, so that you can get to a point to where you start to be able to be picky or choosy with who you work with directly. Now maybe you want to scale early on. You say, okay, Derek, I've got an excess of home buyers. You know, I just want to work with all sellers, which is who most agents want to work with. And let's talk about that. Why do most real estate agents rather have a listing than to have a buyer? Number one, with a listing, you have a contractual agreement with that homeowner that if they sell their property within the time frame of that agreement, you are guaranteed to get paid. You don't have that with a buyer. Even if you have the buyer sign a buyer broker agreement saying, hey, if you purchase a property within the next 6 or 12 months, I'm going to get paid, they still may decide not to buy. And what I mean is, there's a better chance that a buyer is going to change their mind on buying than a seller is going to change their mind on selling once they've signed a contract. So I think that's a big reason. Another reason why I preferred to work with sellers over buyers is because I just simply realized that I could only handle so many buyers at a time. And maybe I should have done things differently, and I should have scaled and added a buyer's agent, but I didn't do that. What I did is I just started to choose to refer out buyers and say, hey, I got a buyer for you. If you're interested, kick me back X amount of percent if you successfully close on it, and I'm going to focus on sellers. And the reason why is because I can handle many more sellers than I can active buyers at a time. And so, I mean, it was very common for me for years and years to have 50 to 75 sellers under contract at a time. And that was just with me, one assistant, and a transaction coordinator. No buyer agents, nobody else. I went on every listing, et cetera, et cetera. And that's because of the systems that I've been able to implement and to create so that I can have a nice scaled business. And I think that is the thing. And a lot of agents, they try to scale to becoming a listing agent only too early. And in our market here in the Victor Valley, I mean, there's probably, almost no agents are exclusively listing agents. But let's just say agents that are 70% or more listing, that do any sort of large volume, let's say 25 deals more a year. There's probably 10, maybe 20 agents in the entire valley out of thousands and thousands of agents that are primarily listing. Now, of course, there's agents that do lower amount of sales. Let's say they do 4 deals a year, maybe 3 of those are listings from family and friends, and they have one buyer side. We're not talking about them. We're talking about large volume. And so with a seller, you can scale your business, and you can really just save so much time, because when you've got a buyer, you got to physically give them X amount of time, right? It's very time intensive, specifically showing them homes. That takes your time. And so when you start to dissect your business, or as I started to dissect my business and look at my return on time, not my return on investment, I realized very quickly, okay, I need to have listings. And I remember the point, I forget the year it was, but there was a point to where I was taking buyers, and I wanted to transition over to just being a listing agent. And I remember when I got to the equilibrium, and it was kind of scary. Not kind of, it was scary. And I was like, okay, this is it. Like the next buyer, let's say I was working with 3 buyers at the time, 3 active buyers. Maybe it was 2, whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, no more buyers, whatever that amount is. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10 for you, I don't know. But I was like, okay, any buyers that contact me, for now on, I'm going to refer them out. And I'm going to put my focus, instead of taking on a new buyer and showing them homes, I'm going to take that focus and work on marketing to capture new listings. And that's what I did. And it was a process, but I was able to do that, and then be a pretty much a listing agent only, and only working with very select buyers. I mean, they've got to be a family or a friend. Pretty much that's it for me to want to work with them on a buyer side. And it's not because I'm too good for them, because it's definitely not that at all. It's just literally the return on time. There's only so much time in a day, and there's only so much time that I can spend showing homes. And if I've got to spend 6 or 8 hours a week showing a buyer or multiple buyers of homes, those are times that are taken away from my family, number one, taken away from my sellers, number 2, which I place a priority on my sellers. Unless if I take on a buyer, obviously I'm fully committed to the buyers I take on, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So you want to become a listing agent, or at least most agents do. So how do you do that? Well, starts in the mind, make a conscious effort, right? Then you've got to have an actual marketing plan, right? And you've got to know what works. And that's what's great for the agents at Realty One Group Empire, because I fully share all of my information, secrets, and systems and techniques that have been proven to work. And then you've got to execute on that marketing plan. And then you've got to be consistent in it, right? So volume and consistency are both important. You have to have all of these things. And then the biggest, or the last thing I guess would be avoiding distractions like other buyers that come on and say, hey, I want to buy a house. Can you help me? Like I said, it's hard to say, I can't directly help you, but someone on my team will help you, or my partner will help you, or however you want to transition that buyer to your buyer's agent or referring agent. You got to do that. So that's how you become, in essence, a listing agent. And then, of course, you have to have systems in place to systemize that part of the business. Meaning, all of my sellers get the same exact follow-up from me. They get the same exact marketing from me. Once they sign a contract with me, they're going to get the same letter that I send them, or note that I send them, a handwritten note. They're going to get the same email or paragraph once they list their home with me, right? I'm not typing up something every single time saying, hey, the house is on the market, this is when the sign will be up, this is how showings will go. No, I have that printed once, saved on a document, and I copy and paste it, and I insert their name. They're going to get the same updates from me weekly once they're listed as far as market activity. When we get an offer, they're going to get the exact same offer summary presented to them every time, that I'm just copying and pasting and just filling in the particulars on that contract as it's reviewed. I think you're getting the point. Everything is literally exactly the same for every seller, and there's a lot of benefits to that. Number one, the customer experience is top-notch, right? Because I have a system and I follow my system, and a large portion of it is automated, there's consistency, right? So if I was operating my business and I was just totally chaotic and reacting, and I'm crazy busy, and I forgot to get back to that seller and let them know when the sign's going to be up. You know what I mean? If you're an agent, you know all the things that can happen. Because I don't have that, and I haven't had that for years and years and years, my client gets a better level of service. So that's number one and most important. Number two is it frees up time for me, and what I mean by that is I have time to either choose to go spend time with my family, my loved ones, my friends, or I can take that time and choose to invest into the business so that I can get more sellers. And obviously it's a combination of both. Early on, you're going to be heavy on reinvesting, and then you'll probably and hopefully reach a point in your real estate business to where the priority becomes more and more on your family and your loved ones and free time.